Ladies and gentlemen, we will resume the alumni seminar with a special lecture on topic Post-COVID-19, Fourth Industrial Revolution. And with that, by Dr. Yongseok, Professor from KAIST Moonsul Graduate School of Future Strategy. And for this session, I would like to invite our moderator, Mr. Nooruladzim bin Ateman, EDP NHI Batch 77 2016, to take the floor. Please welcome.
Thank you, Puan Marza. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to all participants. Annyeonghaseyo, everyone. Again, thank you for joining us in 7 Alumni Executive Development Program, NHI, COTI Seminar 2020. And my name is Nooruladzim. I'm your moderator for the first speaker for today's webinar. Before we start, this is some admin stuff. This session will be conducted in 1 hour. We will split this into two sections. First section will be a presentation from our speaker and for about 45 minutes. And for the next 15 minutes after that, we will have a Q&A session. We really would like to hear from you. If you have any questions, thoughts, yes or no, you can click on the Q&A icon at the bottom of the Zoom platform and just raise up your questions there. So the organizer will choose the glaring one to be thrown to our speaker. And as we all know, as of today, COVID-19 has already infected for almost 70 millions and more than 1.5 million of us died globally. And right now, Malaysia and Korea, we are at the 3rd wave of this pandemic, and this is becoming complicated and more challenging right now. This virus has caused immense human loss and suffering, impacted most of the economic sector, interrupted our educations, our social interactions, and a little bit political tensions, and also creates more uncertainties. And COVID-19 has changed us. It's unleashed changes that seem unthinkable just a few months ago, but it's changed our way of doing things, the way we buy foods, buy goods. And it's, I think, I believe many of us never buy online food before the pandemic, never use the online learning platform or use the online meeting platform just like Zoom and Webex or other online meeting platform. And now the online shopping is booming, and also the government services. So now once if we need to have a service from the government, we have to make an appointment, and also we can do it via online. And we are all know now that COVID-19 will be here maybe for a long term, and we still do not know what more to come. It is still uncertain, but the question is, how do we respond to these uncertainties? To speak about this, we bring a very special speaker from Korea, Professor Dr. Yongseok. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
Yeah. For the participants' information, Dr. Seo is a Center Director of Moonsul Graduate School of Future Strategy, Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, KAIST. He has vast experience in future studies, theory in social change, strategic foresight, and governance. He holds a PhD in future studies from University of Hawaii, United States of America. He used to be a senior researcher at KAIST Economic Management Research Institute and also a research fellow for Korea Institute of Public Administration. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we are pleased to invite the man of the future, Professor Dr. Yongseok, to deliver his presentation. Please, Doctor.
Yeah, 안녕하세요. Good morning again. It is my great pleasure to meet you, even though it is in online. As Tony, yeah, okay. You may have heard of KAIST, Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. The KAIST is a specialized university which focused on science and technology. Sorry. Yeah, so you can think of it of MIT in Korea. As Mr. I'm sorry, just a second, please. 이거 좀 꺼야 될 것 같은데 죄송해요. 이거 부총장한테 좀 전화가 오겠는데. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, let me start again. So from now on, under the title of the world after COVID-19, let me talk about the government strategy in the age of hyper uncertainty. Yeah, interest in the future is soaring in Korean society. As it entered into the 21st century, I think it's probably the same for Malaysia. I have summarized 3 reasons why Korea and the world became interested in the future. The first reason is increasing the speed of change and uncertainty. As we, or Korea, or Malaysia enter the 21st century, we face more technological, economic, social, and environmental singularity than the paradigm shift that we have been experienced for the last half century. Then, what factors are causing uncertainty? It seems to me there are 3 main factors that increasing uncertainty. The first is unexpectedness due to the rise of disruptive technology, such as artificial intelligence. The second is hyperconnectivity and global synchronization. As we have seen through COVID-19, a global phenomena or event does not stay in a country or region. It soon become a global phenomenon or event. So it is because of global hyperconnectivity and global synchronization due to the development of information technology and transportation technology. The third reason is frequent occurrence of natural disaster due to global warming and weather changes. In these days, we have frequently informed of heavy rain, heavy snow, typhoon, or drought, etc., that go beyond the limit of weather observation. The second and third backgrounds are related to the characteristic of Korean society to some extent. The second background behind the growing interest in the future of Korean society is macro and structural challenges of the future. There is a surge in long-term and macro challenges such as climate change, environmental issues, resource problems, and demographic changes. The third reason is that there is a growing demand for a unique and development model that conform to Korean circumstance. Korea has achieved compressive growth, industrialization, and democratization in the last half century. We used to be in a position to emulate or copy and quickly follow so-called developed countries. But now Korea in the almost the same position as developed country to explore the future of themselves, to find a new path that no country has ever taken, and to create a new model of development that no country has ever done before. In addition, the Korean people are calling for the government's response and preparation to flexibly respond to future challenges in an era of uncertainty. This requires a diagnosis overall government operation that can focus and proactively respond to this rapidly changing environment. It also involves a civil servant with future strategic mind, decision making based on future strategic perspective, and expansion of idea and method for solving future challenges. Yeah, since I've worked at the Graduate School of Future Strategy at KAIST, I've often asked this question: what is strategic foresight? What is future strategy? Yeah. So some people think that the future research is about predicting the future. Yes, it's partially true, but this is what I define as a future research. Future research is fundamentally the study of change and uncertainty, and strategic research is the study of adaptation, responses, and management of the change. So do you think that you can predict the future accurately? You probably think it's almost impossible. So why is it impossible to predict the future accurately? Some believe that if sufficient data, sophisticated methodology, and enough financial support are available, the future can be predicted accurately. However, there are many variables and uncertainty, as I said. Among them, the most uncertain variable is the human mind and behavior. In other words, the future can be deflected by human mind and behavior the moment future became the subject of prediction. As an example, in the mid-1990s, some experts said that the millennium bug, we call the white cat, the millennium bug will cause a lot of confusion at the end of 20th century. But this kind of confusion didn't really happen. Why? Because we prepared for the millennium bug. So the Austrian futurist let's say this way: no matter how accurate and correct predictions are, when people believe it and take measure and action against it, they end up wrong. As I mentioned, the future research is about the study of change. So let's look at the nature of change from now on. There are many diverse terms that refer change by the degree and the speed of change. You might be familiar with a trend and megatrend and paradigm. Yeah, the term paradigm is coined by Thomas Kuhn in his famous book, The Structure of Scientific Revolution. Thomas Kuhn defined the paradigm as the dominant value or frame of thought of any one era. So paradigm shift takes a long time. Megatrend is a global level or similar large-scale trend of change. It is a large-scale forces that can affect all areas of society, economy, industry, politics, environment, technology, and culture, at least 30 years to 100 years. Trend is a certain direction of society or over a certain period of time. So from now on, let's focus on some of the concept with a few cases. Yeah, I think you might heard of the first industrial revolution quite often in these days. Is the first industrial revolution or digital transformation a fad, or trend, or paradigm? I think it's a mega trend in that the world is experiencing a similar phenomena. So I believe that the first industrial revolution is kind of a mega trend. To me, the first industrial revolution is an intelligent revolution. The first intelligence revolution is expected to bring about revolutionary change as man-made artificial intelligence and human brain or human intelligence co-evolved together. Although it is still an emerging issue, the human brain is also expected to evolve rapidly as it is linked to machine. Okay, then first I'll focus on man-made artificial intelligence. You're now looking at the picture, look like the TV brown one in the TV brown monitor in the past. Before 2002, there are two ways of storing knowledge and information, which is analog and digital mode. The storage ratio was 50-50 in 2002, but just 5 years later, the digital storage increased by 94%. By 2020, it is estimated that the storage in digital mode increased by 99%. What does that mean? This means there is more information and data to artificial intelligence for their learning sources or learning environment. Yeah, the application of artificial intelligence is applied not only to the factory, but also in the professional service area. As you may aware, well, that there are increasing medical and legal service based on artificial intelligence and big data. In recent, Harvard Law School created 6.5 million judicial precedents as a big data, and even Estonian government has developed an AI judge for misdemeanor. Yeah, and there are also moves to make active the use of artificial intelligence in the government and administrative field. Intelligent chatbot or AI chatbot is the area where artificial intelligence is applied and the most in administrative services. In the US Department of Homeland and Security, there is an intelligent chatbot called Emma, and Emma handles 500,000 complaints per month, and she gets smarter and smarter over time. So at the end of the year, the satisfaction level is higher than that of humans. The important thing is that it needs a massive amount of data to learn intelligence chatbot. So it is said that without enough data, intelligent chatbot can function properly. Yeah, this is also a very important issue. How much do you believe in what AI has judged and decided? Do you think that the artificial intelligence judgment is fair? You probably don't think so, I believe. It is because humans who design algorithms and selecting data. In this process, individual values and bias must be reflected. In addition, the current developed AI algorithm is a structure that learns from human selected data to make judgment and decision. In recent, there have been a series of cases in which biased AI remarks and action have been made. This is one example. 5 years ago, AI-enabled Google Camera app recognized the black woman as a gorilla. Why did this happen? The problem was in the data. Set that Google Camera app is learning. Google Camera app learned based on 14 million photos and images, and most of the photos and images of women in that data set were white women. That's why the AI in the camera app has no enough chance to look at the face of a black woman. This is the reason why the Google Camera app has discriminated the black woman. This is the picture of the future of self-driving vehicle. In the future, all the traffic regulation or law will be built in intelligent car. This means that AI or artificial intelligence can control the vehicle and cannot break the traffic regulation even if you want to break the law. This kind of regulation system will emerge all around of our society. I'm afraid that if in this system, human autonomy will be lost. In this regard, the professor at Harvard Law School, Lawrence Lessig, warned like this. The emerging digital technology accelerate the digitalization of existing law, social rules, and commitment. The digital technology generates codes, namely laws that must be implemented. In other words, automated rules. So this is a new kind of legal system that we have never experienced before. The social rule and commitment inherent in digital code control people's behavior or guide them in a particular direction and even demand absolute compulsory forces. So the digital code has the same level of binding and forcing as the law, and the force that digital code can be even stronger than the law in reality. I think I spent too much on this trend, so let me move on to the next concept of change. One term for change is fad. Fad is an abbreviation for a day, and it refers to an event or phenomena that glitters and disappears in a short period of time. Do you remember the ice bucket challenge? Yeah, this was the representative global fad, but no one does do that in these days, the ice bucket. So again, the fad doesn't last long. It's about a year at most, from a few months to a year. Okay, then let me raise one question. Is COVID-19 a fad or a trend, or mega trend? What do you think? Is it a fad or trend? I hope it's a fad, yeah. But some experts said epidemic or pandemic like COVID-19 is a cycle. Cycle means that a phenomena or event is repeated over a period of time. So the rise and fall of economy and the rise and fall of country are all repeated within a certain cycle. So the epidemic, like the COVID-19, can be considered as a cycle, so that it can be occur within the next 10 years or 15 years or something like that. One term for change is emerging issue. Emerging issue is that currently the impact of issue is very weak. But if it develops into a trend in the future, it will have a huge impact on society. As you can look at in this graph, the data or resource of emerging issue is very, very low. So when the issue is started, when the issue is growing fast and rapidly, we call this sphere as a trend. Then the issue maturated and then declined. So every issue goes through this kind of S-curve pattern. Okay, emerging issue shows the following characteristic from early occurrence to growth, maturity, and decline. So due to the time constraint, let me skip this explanation. Okay, here's one example of emerging issue. As the human brain is connected to the machine, the possibility of human brain evolution is also increasing. As I said in the previous slide, currently, in variety of experiments and developments are being conducted to connect the human brain and the machine. And in the future, human thought and feelings and emotion can be expressed in the computer. Even this kind of thing can be stored in computer, what the scientists or people, the experts say nowadays. If this technology continue to evolve, we may have to redefine the concept of human being. And the impact of technology will be enormous, and we will undergo tremendous change if this technology will emerge as a trend. Another term for change is the black swan. You might be familiar with the concept. The term black swan is often used in combination with a wild card or extreme event. Black swan refers to an event that can have a significant impact or consequences that will greatly change the future. But it is extremely unlikely or unpredictable. Here's some example. 9/11 attack in 2001 and Asian financial crisis in 1997 and the Fukushima earthquake in 2011 can be considered as a wild card or black swan. The COVID-19 is also a black swan which was unlikely, very unlikely, and unpredictable. So I want you to think about what kind of black swan do you expect in your country or in East Asia or entire world in the next few years or 10 years? I would like to think about that. Another concept about the future change is a black elephant. You might also familiar with this term. Actually, this term was coined by Thomas Friedman, the columnist in New York Times. The black elephant is an event which is extremely likely and widely predicted by experts, but is ignored or simply unspoken for various reasons, such as inertia, fear, inconvenience, conflict of interest, etc., until the elephant destroys the whole houses or room. Global warming is the best example of this black elephant. Everyone knows that the global warming will cause a huge disaster or threat to the survival of humankind. But cooperation between countries for carbon reduction is not being easily achieved. This is because the immediate economic benefits are at stake. Aging is also an inevitable future. We all know that the aging will cause many problems, but the conflict of interest is making the reforms difficult. A typical example of black elephant is pension reform in Korea, for instance. Yeah, one of the important characteristics of 21st century environmental change is frequent occurrence of combined and large scale of crisis and disaster. This accelerates the black tide phenomena. I named the black tide, in which another crisis or disaster comes at the same time, just like wave, before one crisis or disaster is over. The black tide inevitably lead to the escalation of a crisis and disaster, accompanied by massive damage that is difficult to manage and recover in a single region or at a national level. So let me raise a question again here. Then, how should our social system, including the way the government operates, be changed in the regularity of this kind of black tide? With increasing uncertainty, many research institutes, both in domestic and abroad, have been studying the government's key capability to encounter uncertainty. The key competency or elements or factors of future government that they commonly present are agility, openness, flexibility, streamlined, and connectedness, and the tech-enabled. Agility is to take action, optimize for unexpected event in a fast and efficient manner. Openness is about trust and judgment for public services through transparency, openness, and accountability. Flexibility is about flexible policies, plans, and institutions for unexpected events. Streamlined is about the degree of simplification and efficiency of administrative service, avoiding the chronic so-called red tape held by bureaucrats. Connectedness is about the degree of stakeholder involvement across various platforms for cooperation between the public and private sector and organization. Tech-enabled is about the leverage diverse technology for government organization and administrative services. As I mentioned, due to the frequency, complexity, and enlargement of crisis and disaster, so-called the comprehensive crisis and disaster management frame has been introduced. The comprehensive crisis and disaster management frame consists of four phases or levels. The first level is mitigation and prevention. It is about improving legislation and institution to mitigate and prevent a crisis. The second level is preparing and planning. It's about plan, education, and training, assuming a real crisis. The third level, or third phases, is responses. It is about the multiple responses at the public, private, and civic level in the event of crisis or disaster. The final level is recovery. It's about the various action to recover to the pre-crisis or disaster phases. So I analyzed Korea's corona response by applying the government's core capability and comprehensive crisis management frame. This project started last April and then ended in August. The project was funded by the World Bank and the Korean Ministry of Finance and Strategy. So I put the Korean cases into this frame and then observed, analyzed what the Korean government or civil society or the private sector have done during the COVID period, acceleration period. In the first level, mitigation and prevention, I raised this question. Were there any legal and institutional improvement to prevent and mitigate the infectious disease before they occurred? Yes, there were a lot of improvement and enhancement. After MERS outbreak in 2015, there have been many improvements in legal and institutional system for prevention of epidemic in Korea. In the preparing and planning level, was there any preparation or plan for assuming an outbreak of infectious disease? Yes, there were many education training program assuming an outbreak of the infectious disease in Korea since the outbreak of the MERS disease. I'll talk about the response on the next slide. How have government, civilian or citizen responded since the corona outbreak? The recovery is still on the way, so it is unlikely to be able to tell you the concrete result in this presentation. So now let's look at how the Korean government responded in terms of the future government's competency or element in flexibility. In the Okay, let me just read. In the unprecedented international crisis, the Korean government flexibly operated law and system without being tied to regulation. The government pushed for expansion of supply for prevent products such as masks, and this infectant to adjust the demand and serve the shortage. In openness, the Korean government has so far maintained its border openness, not to block outbound shipment or restricted the freedom of regional blockaded or movement. In reliability, the Korean government has made public confirmed patients movement and infection route through emergency alert message in a transparent and prompt and detailed manner. In connectivity, from the early stage of COVID-19 proliferation, active links were made between the central and local government. Public and private sector, the Korean government worked with mobile providers, credit card company, and transportation company to actively use them to track the movement of certain patients. In agility, the Korean government has taken very swift and active measure since the onset of disease. The government had already held an emergency meeting with the representatives of more than 20 manufacturers of diagnostic reagent. At the end of the January, prompted by the urgent need for diagnostic kits to detect the new coronavirus. In streamlining, the Korean government simplified administrative procedure and local financial investment review system to strengthen the support for struggling the small businesses. Technology. Korea actively utilize innovative technology to respond coronavirus. Typical example include diagnosing using ICT and epidemiological survey and the patient management. 이게 안 넘어가는데 좀 더 해주시고요. Okay, among many other elements of key competence of future government, the key was the agility. Professor Moon in the next forum will discuss about this topic, but I would like to also emphasize the key factor to success of Korea prevention of this disease is agility. Agility means, you probably know that it's fast and effective way of manner or something like this. And then resilience is also important and worked. Resilience is not just about recovering from a pre-crisis or disaster. It's about evolving into an improved system. Throughout the MERS outbreak, the Korea's epidemic prevention system has greatly improved. So in an age of uncertainty, the core competencies that government needs to develop are increased agility in times of crisis and the ability to improve system through crisis or disaster. What I call is resilience. So I combine these two words, agility and resilience, as resilience. So resilience is the key competency that the future government must pursue in the age of hyper uncertainty. In addition, I would like to suggest that the government to enhance resilience capability in conjunction with strategic foresight. The future cannot be accurately predicted, as I mentioned, but there are signs of change, and this sign can be detected and explored. So, I also suggest we establish a horizon scanning and foresight platform that can explore and analyze the sign of future risk, crisis, and disaster, and provide early alerts or alarm to the government sectors. So this kind of the horizoning and scanning platform can provide simulation and scenario of different paths and outcome in the event of crisis or disaster. The platform should link with the established crisis and disaster management system when the crisis has occurred or the disaster happens. Okay, so from now on, I would like to make some suggestion on how to respond the first industrial revolution or digital transformation. Big data and AI as a universal public goods. As internet has done so far, AI and big data will serve as public good in the future. So the individual, companies and country or government will be able to make good use of these public goods. Therefore, creating a new business model based on AI and big data is critical to getting on the golden cycle that AI will bring. Not only government, but also in the business area. But this requires capacity building for technology sensitive. I don't know whether you heard about technology sensitive or not. Technology sensitivity is the ability to increase the utilization of technology by taking into account social needs, acceptability and commerciality of the market. Many engineers or scientists in KAIST, they only focus on technology. So they believe that technology will solve everything. Technology will create the wealth and business and industry, but I don't think so. Even there are very good technology, if there is no needs from society or in the business, the technology will be fade away, will be disappeared. So technology sensitivity is very important, and then the Steve Jobs has a very good sense of technology sensitivity. So when he invented smartphone or iPhone, he didn't use any cutting-edge technology. He used pre-existing technology and combined with the needs of society and the commerciality in the market. So he made a huge industry, so-called the smartphone industry. So technology is important, but I also believe that technology sensitivity is very important, not only for the private sector, but in the government sector. AI, artificial intelligence, will not take away human job. That's my thought. But will contribute to improving human work efficiency and productivity. The competition in the future will not be between the machine and human, but the competition will be between AI man hybrid team. So one AI man hybrid teams and the other AI man hybrid team will be compete each other. So in the future, government and business should shift its R&D, research and development direction from capital centered, which maximize profit, to human-centered, which value human convenience and their labor and jobs. That's my thought. But in Scandinavian country, there's some trends of research, so-called human-centric robot. They would like to more focus on human than the capital. I think this is very desirable way that we must pursue. Okay, I'm not sure if my message was delivered properly because I'm trying to capture a lot in a limited time. So thank you very much for your listening, and I wrap up my presentation here, and then maybe we can have some Q&A session.
So, Professor, actually, in our chat board now, we have two questions.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, Professor,
Yeah.
are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, we have two questions, Doctor, for you.
Okay.
One of the question is, do you think that the human capabilities in managing life will reduce due to the wide usage of AI, because the home appliances, transportation, all are controlled by AI. So do you think that our capabilities will be reduced, our human capabilities?
Capability, yeah. Yeah, well, there's a good and very interesting question. What kind of capability? Our sense, you mean, or our capability of memorize something or this kind of thing? Yeah, but as we use a smartphone for the last 10 years, I don't know how many telephone number you remember since you use a smartphone. You know, in my case, just less than 5 numbers. Yeah. In some degree, like technology, including AI, it's kind of reducing our ability or human capability, like some senses or memory capacity. But I believe that as the computer and internet and smartphone help us to improve our efficiency or productivity, so AI also will help human productivity or efficiency. That's what I believe.
Okay, thank you, Doctor, for the answer. And for the second question, Doctor, in time of COVID-19 situations, many have been laid off and become unemployed. And how does the IR 4.0 can help those workers to rebound back and getting the job for their survival in terms of labor? People are losing their jobs. So how IR 4.0 can help these people to survive in this pandemic?
Well, this is very, very difficult question. Actually, I'm not an expert in labor or economics, though. So far, I think there's no clear answer to solve this problem. And I'm sure that not only the Korean government, but also Malaysian governments are struggling this problem. But to be honest, I don't have any answer for that question. It's very difficult. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. That is all the time we have for now, Doctor. But to wrap it up, we are very honored to have you, having you here today. And because this COVID-19, with the uncertainties, we need data to predict the futures. And you already outlined so many initiative and the forecast for the Korean, from the agility in the VUCA volatility environment right now, right? So again, Doctor, we are very thank you for joining us and taking time to this presentation. Thank you, Doctor. And to all participants, please stay tuned for the next session. Thank you. 감사합니다, Doctor. 안녕.
Okay, thank you so much. And I discovered that there are two questions, but I have another appointment next meeting. So why don't you send those emails to me, and then also we'll give you or send the report that I worked with the World Development Bank and then the Ministry of Finance and Strategy. So there is a very detailed description about how the Korean government handled the COVID-19. So is it okay? So Mr. Park will send my email, then we can have a discussion further in the email.
Okay, thank you, Doctor, for your kindness. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. 그 이메일로 제 이메일 전해드리면요, 그 세계은행이랑 같이 한번 보고서하고 그다음에 그 질문.
Kamsahamnida, Dr. Seo Yongseok, and thank you very much, Mr. Azim, for moderating this special lecture. And now we will proceed with our next session, forum number 1, which is leadership and governance in pandemic situation.